Welcome to the channel. I think most of you have by now seen or read something in the news about what's happening in Syria. So we have an offshoot of the Al-Qaeda who've rebranded themselves and are now ruling Syria, and they've attacked Sueda, the center where the Druze minority in Syria live, and they've been carrying out a massacre. And in response to protect the Druze minority, Israel has responded because Israel itself has a large Druze minority population who live in Israel very happily and they're equal citizens. And some of the best commanders in the IDF are Druze Muslim Arabs. So I will be hopefully speaking to a Syrian friend of mine later on to find out more details about what is going on and what's happening there. But meanwhile, my friend Mahyar Tusi had an interesting guest, a Druze Israeli, Mansour Ashkar, on his channel yesterday. And there was some interesting things that he said that I'd like to play to you. I've taken this off Mahyar's channel. I hope he doesn't mind. I don't think he will. He's a nice guy. He's a friend of mine. I'm sure he won't. So this is part of his talk with Mansour, and there's a couple of things that Mansour raised, which I think is really worth replaying and talking about. Let's just listen to what he had to say, and then we'll discuss it as we go along.
Mind you, these attacks by Jolani started very shortly after Israel have allowed the mashayikh, the religious leaders from Syria, to come into Israel to visit their holy site, the house of the Prophet Jethro. And after that, when they saw them hugging each other, and I think every time when you see that, same thing with Hamas and Iran, they started the war with Israel when Israel was normalizing the relationship with Saudi Arabia and others, Abraham Accords.
This is the key point. Every time Israel tries to normalize relations with some Arab country, there are dark forces. I don't know who they are, whether they're Muslim Brotherhood, Qataris, probably. Same with October the 7th. Just as Israel was trying to normalize its relationship with Saudis, they embark on a mad attack, which they suffer from it themselves later. But it looks like that they're prepared to suffer huge casualties. They're prepared to suffer a catastrophe just to derail any talks of Israel normalizing its relations with any of their neighboring communities or countries.
It seems to me that the radical Muslim Brotherhood movement, every time that they see a chance to make Israel, the Jews, and the peace-loving Arabs and Muslims look good, it scares them because they're going to make.
This is the thing. So the narrative that these anti-Israeli forces are pushing is that Israel is an apartheid and it's carrying out genocide and all that. So anything that suggests that Israel actually has a lot of friends amongst Arabs will make them look bad, and they will do anything to derail that.
Make them look really bad, and then they attack. And then they attack, they charge, they try, they do crazy stuff because they're very terrified. That's why they hate the Druze, by the way, one of the reasons, because the Druze are a great example of coexistence. Some people have been writing in the comments here, what is the Druze? So in Israel, the Druze.
So now Mansour is going to talk about another thing that you often hear. So the usual narrative about 1947, when the State of Israel was formed, was that Israel kicked out all the Arabs and occupied the land, which isn't quite true. So the Druze Arabs, for example, they didn't have to leave because they chose to live and coexist with a new Jewish state, and they've benefited from it. And Mansour explains it better than me. So let's just listen to Mansour.
And the Jews have all rights and obligations. My mom is a very respected woman in a Jewish city. We have all rights and obligations. We have Jewish doctors, ministers, judges, school teachers. Women are allowed to walk freely in the street. They're allowed to dress as they want. So
here we have the Druze minority that's spread between Lebanon, Syria, and Israel. Everywhere else they're persecuted. The only place where they're equal citizens is Israel, where they can be judges, they can be in the army, they can live a completely normal life, they don't have to hide their religion. And yet the Western activist, ignorant class keep calling Israel an apartheid. How is that?
Making the pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, anti-West Muslims look really bad because they're trying to portray all the time the image that Israel is evil, Israel is bad, is an apartheid, and etc. But the Druze had the same starting point, like the Muslims, by the way. You know, when Israel was started, my grandfather had the same offer on the table. When the state of Israel started, the Muslims came and sent basically a memo to all the Muslims in the land: get out of the land, we're going to come slaughter all the Jews from the river to the sea, and then you can come back after 2 weeks and take their homes. Jews got the same memo, by the way. And my grandfather came and said, and many Jews says, no, I'm not slaughtering these people. I'm going to stay here. They're very kind. They're very respectful. Well, they stayed there. And then the war started. The Druze actually joined side with the Jews, and Israel won. And since then, the ones who tried to murder them and didn't succeed are coming and saying, yeah, they stole our home. But the Druze are living statement, no, we were living here too. We didn't try to murder them. Look at us. We're having great life.
This is the key question. So why didn't Israel take the homes of the Druze Arabs? Why did Israel not make them refugees? How come they managed to stay and thrive?
That makes them look really bad, and that literally pops out this whole pro-Palestine thing.
So there you go. Here is an Arab Israeli speaking that you don't often see on the mainstream media. I mean, surely now that the Druze are being massacred, the media should go and reach out to the Druze and speak to them to see what is happening. You know, why they're being massacred, who's helping them, why they've been under persecution in all these other countries, and that, and give some information to the public. But thanks to alternative media like that's available on social media, on YouTube, like Mahia's channel, you know, we can get hold of people like Mansour and speak to them. I'm hoping to connect with him myself and have a chat with him myself too. But yeah, I thought there were two very interesting points that were raised in that video. And I thought I'd play it with you. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, please leave it in the comments. And look at later on, I'm hoping to speak with a Syrian friend of mine as well, and have more on this what's going on in Syria. Thanks for watching.